Hello and welcome to another episode of
Absolute Game of Nerd!
Right On. Yes, today a little special episode. I got my buddy here, Ryan, Colossus Collector. We previously did the Dune 2 review, and today we are going to do the review of the Shogun series that was on FX. FYI, there will be spoilers, so if you have not seen it, we're going to get into it, and don't be upset. So Ryan, actually, I should say, Ryan, say hello. How you doing, man?
What's going on, everybody? I'm doing pretty good. It's Friday for
Indeed. For us, yes. When this drops, it won't be Friday. Yeah. But that being said, real quick to start. So for those that don't know, well, I mean, if you're watching now, you know because we already said the spoiler warning. But Shogun was based on a book called Shogun from the 1970s. I haven't read it, Ryan. I don't think you've read it either, right?
No,
yeah, okay.
I have not.
I do intend to read it after I finish a couple books that I'm on. I am going to pick it up because it's supposed to be great, and I want to, especially after the show. So let's just kind of start high level. What were your overall opinions of the show?
High level, it was one of my most favorite shows I've watched in a long time. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was it was just an occasion kind of watch schedule. Like I always look forward to an episode coming out each week. Feel like I haven't had that probably since like Game of Thrones, or House of the Dragon, where it's a weekly release, and I just feel like, oh, I can't wait to have another episode come out. So like, yeah, I thought it was awesome. The quality is just like so high, and yeah, I just enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I'm with you. In my opinion, it's the best show I've seen in a long time. Definitely the one I've been into the most since House of Dragon, which is now 2 years ago. And I mean, it's just every aspect of it I thought is phenomenal, from the acting to, we mentioned this when we did the Dune review about how the movie Dune really takes you to that planet and that transformative setting. Like I felt the exact same way about this show, that it's 1600 Japan and we are there. Like I thought that was specifically just so well done. And again, I'm not the best judge of, this is brilliant acting, this is mediocre acting, this is, I mean, obviously I can spot horrible acting, but I thought this show, I mean, every character performance I thought just lit the screen on fire. I mean, I imagine, I mean, I would hope that the show wins multiple awards for acting credits. I mean, what's the main character? Haruki Sanada. I mean, he is incredible. Anna Sawai, who plays Mariko, was just phenomenal. I mean, everything I thought was so good. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like, if this doesn't win Emmys, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time an incredible piece of film or television show didn't win awards it should, but it really does seem like it's a shoe-in for some of them. Yeah, and like you said, acting was incredible. I don't know the actors' names, but Toranaga, the main character.
Yeah, that's I think it's Hiroyuki Sanada is his name.
Yeah, so I'll just continue to call him Toranaga because it's easier to pronounce. I mean, you've seen him before. He's kind of like one of
he was in Endgame, remember?
Yeah, he plays the
Japanese mob boss that Hawkeye slices up,
that Ronin takes out in the streets. But yeah, he's that kind of he's kind of like one of the more like really authentic, Japanese actors that just gets a lot of parts for like Japanese, like really quality Japanese characters. I think he's great in The Last Samurai.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Such a good. That's like when I think of him, I think of that movie. Outside Now, Shogun. And that's, I think, the first time I saw him on screen, and he was just like a real presence in that movie. So yeah, you know he's like a really good actor, and he really brought it in this role.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool too, because I mean, like when you talk about like Japanese society and culture, especially like back then, it's all about like staying kind of calm and not overreacting, very
Hmm.
reserved. And like they played that part, but then when you watch the scenes, you could see like the eyes and the faces that were just, I mean, it was just phenomenal. I loved it.
Yeah, it's all about mastering everything you do, right? The craft, even in like yourself, like containing your emotions, like being even kill,
Yeah,
which is kind of in a way a hard thing to do on film and still get that emotion, right?
yeah,
And it, like you said, it just like oozes through the stoicness of all the characters that are Japanese in, or most of the stoic Japanese characters in the show. But yeah, like Toranaga really killed it, and
yeah.
so did Mariko.
Anna
Who-
Sawai, I think's her
yeah,
name, yeah. But specifically too, again, I guess this would be the first spoiler, like in episode 8, when, Hiramatsu, who is my favorite character of the entire cast, the seppuku scene, and before, and when they pan over to Toranaga, and it's like, his face is doing, like, the entire gamut of emotions, like,
without
from the
but
yeah, with
holding it,
yeah, and, like, from the whole, like, "Then do it." Like, "Just do it," and then for the other, like, "Oh my god, this is really happening," and then, like, "Holy," "I can't believe we've gotten to this point." Like, it was
And
incredible.
for anybody who's maybe a little hazy on the names of the characters, Hiromatsu is the older kind of right hand to
Yeah,
Toranaga,
his, like, top
who
general.
who is the most loyal of servants to him. But then in that moment of when all his like vassals, all his pledged servants are like trying to get him to go to war, he basically in protest uh performed
You know, that's
seppuku, but we all know that that was actually all part of this grand master plan that comes to um,
that
fruition.
I'm curious, when that scene was happening, were you like, "He is giving up," or were you like, "No, there's gotta be something behind,"
I
like.
don't know, like I didn't think I, I wasn't sure if it was a plan or he was just going to eventually like realize that he needs to do something about what was going on. But he did at one point. Like it's funny because like just before that, I don't know if it was the episode before or earlier in that episode 8, when he does commit seppuku, Hiromatsu kind of says to the other vassals like he
He's
he's
gonna
kind of
fight.
he's gonna fight, right? And then he doesn't, and it was like, so it was confusing. I definitely didn't see it necessarily as oh, it's all part of a plan, a grand plan. Like I thought maybe he's just doing it to like push him into what he needs to do. Um yeah, it was killer, like sad because he's such a cool character, but
Yeah, one of my favorite moments with him was, so in the earlier episodes when Tornaga escapes Osaka, but Hiramatsu stays back, and then he goes to the Council of Regents meeting and like delivers that message. Like he like has this like ornate robe and he's like flailing out his sleeves, and then he's like, "Oh, actually, you can't vote because there's only 4 of you, and you need 5 to vote." Like I just love it. It was that guy's.
yeah,
He was so. I love. It was sad to see him go, but yeah, I mean, I just can't even imagine, you know, it being a part of that culture where it's like you're so committed to this plan, to your master, that like any deviance away and you're just like, well then my life is over. Like that to me is like, I mean, just a crazy,
it's just a
crazy.
it's a value system that's
Mhm.
instilled in their culture, right? Like l- life itself is meaningless if you don't have honor and you don't you don't live up to the things that you've
Yeah.
you've been born into, or your family's put you into, like, you know what I mean? It's just honor above all things, right? And honor, being pledged to a leader of some kind is, and like being loyal to him is your honor, right? And so
And it's
it's
interesting too how they frame that as like that is, once like the honor component is like take a hit, it's like the only way to proceed, yet they frame it like, there's that scene when Hiramatsu's talking to Fuji. So Fuji is his granddaughter that also becomes the consort of Blackthorn, right? And her husband and did seppuku with their
Yeah, I
only
was
son
just
in
thinking, well,
episode
we gotta
1.
talk about that.
And when it was like episode 7, and he's like back at her house when they're at the fishing village, and he's like, this is how they continued their fight. So they like kind of framed that as like, you did that as a service to your lord so that his honor would still remain intact and his fight could continue. And therefore, that's how you continue your fight once that's happened like that. I
It's
mean, it's wild.
and your son has to
I
go with
know.
you. Like, it's
Ugh.
wild. It's a wild thing, but in a lot of ways, like, it's kind of amazing too. Like, if humans were like that now, I mean, there would be a lot of senseless death, but there would also just be like such a good, like, there would be way more goodness in the world if people lived that way. You know what I
I mean,
mean?
just
Like,
the dedication to a cause, the kind of
yeah,
unity, that aspect of it. Yeah, it would totally. Um, yeah, it did. I like you said, I look forward to this show every week. I'm sad it's over. With that being said, I wanted to come back. I know you said you were a little disappointed in the finale because there wasn't kind of an epic battle. Talk about that, and I'll kind of give you my thoughts in that regard.
yeah. So, before I say that, I did want to also just say, like, I'm also not someone who enjoys uh, foreign language films or
Oh
shows.
yeah, good point.
I do not like reading my movies. Like, I want to,
Yeah,
like a little bit, it's fine, but like this show is like 85% subtitles in a lot of ways, and it did not matter to me. That's how good this show
yeah,
was.
agreed. I
Like,
would I would literally echo everything you just said
and
there.
I think that's probably why I liked it as much as I did, on top of it being good, was that I'm not on my phone when I'm watching this show. Like, I have to read. I have to like pay attention more than maybe I do sometimes on other shows. So like it was just like so immersive that really adds to like your enjoyment. So anyways, the finale. And I think I'm not alone. I think a lot of people felt the way I'm feeling, um, in that it was a little anticlimactic. You know, the whole show builds towards this conflict, between, I'm terrible at names. What's the main guy?
Ishido? Are you talking
Ishido,
Tornaga or Ishido?
Tornago, and Ishido. Like,
Ishido.
there's got to be a reckoning there, right? Like, somebody's got to win here. Um, and I mean, you do get a culmination and ending in that finale, but it's not with grand epicness battles. It's very much like the Japanese way. Like, and I've thought about it since we talked about it a little bit right after it ended, and like, and you had kind of mentioned it too to me, but it is just very much like what the show's about, which is, kind of like a reservedness, or like a control over
Well, it's
how
just like
things
the
are.
yeah, I mean, and then like, I mean, the whole show too, like it's the political intrigue that what
Mhm,
brings you in. And throughout the entire thing, they kept saying how Tornaga's never lost, Tornaga's, and he always responds with, "Because I never started a war. Like I never." And so his MO has always been like, what chess pieces can I move
mhm.
to avoid actually having to go into physical combat? And so I agree. Like I was with you, like that whole last episode, like going into episode 10, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be the battle, blah blah. And then it's like, even when there was like 20 minutes left, and he was like explaining it to again another name, Yabushige, who was like one of his vassals on that before he, beheaded him. He was like explaining to him, and I was like, wait, there's still gonna be a battle, right? Like, and then and then it's just like really clear, like, no, he is maneuvered the pieces. That being said, and I'm interested when I read the book on this part. I do think they could have fleshed out the whole why. So again, going into the names, Ochiba, who is the heir's mom,
Who
because of
then becomes the fiance to
Shido,
Ishido, yeah.
but she switches sides after Mariko dies in episode 9.
Which
And
all seems kind of part of the plan, right? Like,
yeah, and but like when he's explaining it to Yabashige, he's just like, after Mariko, what happened with Mariko, she switched sides, and they made it very simple. And so I'm very kind of curious if like the book goes into a little bit more detail. And I know they had like a close friendship growing up, and I just thought that I thought there could have been a little bit more. That would be my one complaint, but like I think still thought overall that worked out beautifully. Like it like really played true to the characters, and I also just loved that scene of Yabushige and him before Yabushige died. He's just like, "Tell me your plan. I don't get it." He's just like, "I thought you would have seen this. The plan is already over." Like that
yeah.
is, I loved it. And then he was just like, "Oh, I dang, how did I miss that?" So
Yeah. I think it's kind of just like we as viewers, at least here in North America, we're used to those like epic conclusions.
I
Like
mean, yeah, you talk
every
about Game of Thrones, right? Every season
Game
there's
of
always this like
Thrones,
huge battle and this big
always
climax.
something massive happens, at the end of a movie, like the MCU, we get Endgame, like
Yeah.
everything is always just like it comes to a climax, and this one just kind of doesn't hit that, but there's like a purpose behind it. So
Yeah.
I see that, and I could see like the beauty in it. I don't know if it's as satisfying as I would have liked, but I don't think it doesn't wreck the the show for me. And I actually heard I heard someone say that the show is perfect. It's a perfect line. The show's not about the destination; it's about the journey. The
Yeah.
whole show is the journey. Like that's the part that's amazing, is just like going through the whole thing. So like I get why people might be it was a little bit of a letdown at the end, but I just think the whole show was so good that it didn't matter in
Yeah.
a way,
And I always just say too, just since we're talking about the finale, that final scene with Fuji on the water in the bay, I mean, like, that brought me to near tears. Like when they're like, when she spread the ashes of her husband and son,
Mm,
and then he had the rosary, and she was like, "Do it, be the last one to hold her." Like that was something else, man. I was like,
deep,
"Oh my god,"
heavy stuff, man.
yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
And then I also just thought in general too, it was really great that the final scene, because when I was watching it, the final episode, I took that as a flashback episode because they started with uh, Blackthorn old and with his grandkids looking at him, and then it goes back
Mhm,
to the current setting. And so it wasn't until after, because in those, quote unquote future scenes, he's holding the rosary. And then you see him drop the rosary into the water, and you're like,
mhm.
"Wait, I thought," and then you realize, like, no,
The
that wasn't
same.
the future. That was like what he was dreaming, what his life was gonna end up like. And it was like a great allegory because before that scene too, they showed Toranaga sitting on his horse with his falcon, and he says, "I release you now to the sky." And then there was that
Mhm.
episode way back on called Broken to the Fist, where he talks about you can break men like you can a falcon to do as you bid. And when he let him go, that was him letting go Blackthorn. And then that scene where they're pulling up the boat, like, and Tornaga comes up, like, Blackthorn finally gets it. Like, Tornaga has been kind of using him as a chess piece the entire time. and now he's kind of let go, and Cosmo, and Blackthorn, who's been trying to control his destiny essentially, finally also understood like you just gotta let go, and he finally found like peace at the end there, and I thought that was just brilliant. I mean I just thought it was the most beautiful thing. Like I loved this show.
The thing I didn't realize until the end of the show was that it was only ever going to be one season,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so like that also was kind of maybe I think where I started thinking, oh, maybe we're not going to get that big like thing at the end because it's just going to continue on. But no, they wrapped up every thing, like every character, every little thread. Like they didn't leave anything like, oh, but what about this? Where's this gonna go? Like nothing. I mean, you could always come up with like how does he? What happens to Blackthorn? Sure, but like really, they wrapped everything up just like super nicely, and you're left not wondering a lot, which was
Yeah.
really cool.
I I guess so in the book. So the book is based on the actual event. It's not the, straight telling, obviously. Um, but so like Tornaga says, they do meet on the battlefield, and there actually is a battle. It's just Ishido has no chance. And after he loses, because I don't know if did you listen to any like did you ever listen to like podcasts for shows?
No, no.
Okay, so there's one called the Prestige podcast that I like listening to. It does episodes for a lot of the big shows like Succession, and anyways, I would look forward to listening to that after each episode. And the woman, it's a guy and a girl, and the girl was reading the book as she was watching the show, and she was saying that in the book, because they do the battle, and then Ishido does lose because he has no chance. But like normally, like the head general of the losing army would, have the seppuku kind of thing.
Hmm.
And they were saying the book ends with Toranaga burying Ishido full body with only his head exposed, like in public, and then with left a bamboo saw for people to just walk by and saw like at his neck, and apparently he died 3 days later, and I was like,
Oh
"Oh my
my
god."
God, that's dark and gruesome.
Yeah, I was like, "Holy crap."
What happened to the peaceful
Yeah,
Japanese way?
I was
Oh,
like, "Oh
man.
my god." And apparently that's like the
Brutal.
last thing you read in the entire book, so, when I read it, I'll confirm it, but I was like, "Oh my gosh."
I mean,
That's
it's funny we are talking about, like, oh, like, how, like, reserved and honorable everybody is. There are part like, you mentioned, yeah, I can't say his name.
Yabashige?
Yabashige. I mean, he's, like, the total opposite of, like, that Japanese way. Like he's all about himself. He's a complete flip-flopper
Well,
and
not only that, he also thinks he's as sharp as like he thinks he's
yeah,
intellectually on the same level as Tornag. He's like, "Oh,
yeah.
he's playing me, but I'm actually playing him." And it's like, "No, dude, you're just like literally
And
he's playing you like a fiddle."
and he's obsessed with like death and like
Yeah.
he like when he boils the guy at the beginning of the series and yeah, so he's like a complete like non-Japanese Japanese guy
But
and
I his character is so good.
oh
Like,
yeah, so good.
I loved his death poem too. He's like, "Let me feed the belly of a hungry dog."
Yeah.
And I also love too, because like, yeah, you're right. Like he watches that they talk about because like he kind of listened to that guy get boiled alive, and he was like disappointed because the guy ended up taking his own life versus like letting the boiling slowly kill him. And so they talk about how he's like obsessed with like that moment before death, how a man, and so like when he is uh judged by Tornaga at the end. He's like, "You must slit your belly." He's like, "No, let me get blown up by cannons. Let me." And it's just like
Yeah.
he needs this like epic moment, and it's like, "No, bro." Like,
No, you're just
yeah,
going down.
yeah.
Nice and clean.
Any other favorite moments for you in the show in any of the episodes?
Uh, um, I mean, I like the fact that Blackthorn and Mariko got to have one like moment where they like just stopped. Like, I mean, they did hook up early on, but it was
Yeah,
all
yeah.
like secret. Like this was that was a nice cathartic moment where like they actually got to just like be in love with each other. Just before obviously
She got blown up.
she gets blown up. Um, that was a nice moment. What else did I really like?
I would just say on that moment, another like huge moment is in that scene at the brothel when she was in there translating, and then that Kiku, the
Hmm.
mistress, is talking and she replaces "we" with "I." Oh, it's just like another one of those moments that's like that just like hits you. I was just like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many moments in this show. Like, um, I mean, I always gravitate to like cool, epic stuff. So like, I liked the escape from
Oh, you talking about the ships?
Osaka. Yeah,
Yeah.
the ship escape. That was kind of cool when they kind of outmaneuvered the black ship, and so that was kind of a great.
I even like the scene right before that when Buntaro, who is Mariko's husband,
Oh
like
yeah, when he faces off everybody.
one v50 or whatever it is, like that
Yeah,
was badass.
that was
Especially when like
badass.
Toranaga got up on the boat and like recognized him by full name, and he was just like, and it's just
Yeah,
like, and then off. Oh, that was sick.
when the son attacked the uncle and then he like slips on a rock and dies, I was like, oh my god.
But that was also too was so fitting because his son
Is a
so
bumbling
badly,
kind of,
yeah, so
yeah.
badly wanted to be like, I want to prove myself as this like ultimate samurai, and then you slip on a rock, like
Yeah,
because at
he's
that
just
point too, I was like, oh, he's actually gonna do something there. And then I was like, oh, there
it's
you
just
go,
classic like son caught in his father's shadow, and like
100%.
just everything he does is overcompensating for his lack of self-worth, and or trying to prove himself, and he's just constantly
Yeah,
screwing up, doing the wrong thing, and then he
yeah,
goes out that way. It was rough. The writers did him dirty on that death, but
yeah,
it was very fitting of his character.
yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Any last thoughts? Otherwise, we can kind of wrap this up.
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to, not right away, but eventually doing a rewatch
Yeah.
of it, and just kind of like get to watch it in one kind of binge. That'll be a cool watch, and just kind of like catch things I forgot about or didn't notice the first time around. Um, I will say the one thing I did see, I saw Toranaga that he was doing an interview, and he was a producer on it,
Yeah.
and they were talking about filming, and they actually filmed all of that in Vancouver or in and around British Columbia as opposed to Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was I guess it was still they filmed still when they were under some COVID restrictions and stuff like that. And getting into Japan was kind of
Not usable,
a
not
tricky
doable.
thing. So BC's got a very similar kind of
Yeah, I can
uh,
see, like, that Izu, that fishing
well,
village, like, I could totally see
I mean,
that. Yeah,
you're up in the Seattle area, like
yeah.
that. It's the same kind of vibe, right? Like, and yeah, so he's like, turns out British Columbia is just like the perfect
Hey,
place
I
to
mean,
film
they
Japan.
filmed tons of movies in Vancouver
I know.
as
Yeah.
it is, so
Well, they call it Hollywood North, right? Even I in my job with commercials and stuff, I've gone out there a bunch of times to film. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I too am looking like I also had this system where because on the West Coast, it comes out Monday at 9 on Hulu. Like, did you watch it on Hulu or FX, like, on the scheduled FX?
up here in Canada, we get it on Disney Plus because we don't have Hulu.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, it would come out on Hulu, which it probably was the same for Disney, like, at 9 on because it came out on Tuesdays at midnight. So they're right. So West Coast time, that would be 9 p.m. on Mondays. However, I didn't want to start it at 9 and then be done at past 10. So I would watch it on Tuesdays. And then so what I would do is I would watch on Tuesday, and then the next week I would rewatch the episode on Monday and then kind of pick up what I missed a little
So
bit.
you've got it a little bit fresher in your head.
Yeah, and then
'Cause
I would
I
watch
only watched them all
Tuesday.
once, right? So
Yeah, and I think too is like it's not like I had anything else to watch. Like I always looked forward to. But no, I'm with you. Like I'll give it a little bit of time. And, actually, I'll probably also even read the book first and then rewatch. And, I'm looking forward to that. So,
I'm sure the book will have way more details, like
yeah.
the bamboo saw.
Yeah. Right on, man. All right, Ryan, thanks for jumping on with me today to kind of just have a quick discussion on it.
No worries.
Again, I like kind of doing these review eps. I'm going to do some more of them coming up. I know House of the Dragon, I'm going to kind of do a weekly one with the episodes, like maybe get you. I know Mike wants to do some of them, so we'll talk about that down the
I
line. But
love me some House of Dragon.
oh
I
man, I
can't wait.
can't wait.
I've been wanting to watch season 1
Like the rewatch.
for so long, but I'm like, I'm gonna save it till just before it comes out, so it's like really fresh. So I'm looking forward to even just doing season 1 again.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait. June 16th, man, I am looking forward to it. But yeah, everyone, as always, let us know what you think in the comments. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff that people say. But otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Peace out.